28 minutes past the hour. Thanks so much for being with us on this Monday. Hope you had a great weekend. It certainly was a terrific sports weekend, going all the way back to Friday night and an epic Game 5 of the finals. And the Rays-Yankees game was also tremendous, and football certainly delivered over the weekend. He's one of our favorites. He's the Big O, Orlando Alcigari, talking South Florida sports and music with him. Catch his podcasts every day on YouTube. Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and follow him on Twitter at Big O Show. Orlando, how you been?
Very good. Twitter is Big O Show, but the show is Big O Radio Show. So you can find it on all the platforms.
Well, lots to talk about today. Let's start with the positives, because after I saw a great opportunity, and I told people when Miami was going to beat Jacksonville on Thursday that there was a chance they could win 5 in a row because Seattle was depleted, and I laid out the schedule. Well, Fitzpatrick was Fitztragic. We know it, we have it, we see it, and everybody's talking about Tua. Not this Monday, because Fitzmagic came back, and the Miami Dolphins looked not good. They looked great yesterday, Orlando.
Yeah, and I look, this is just a sign of things to come, because I've been explaining to people that it's not the same Dolphins from last year. They look at the record and they see the losses, and they think it's the same thing as last year, and it was not. You can tell because they've been competitive in all the games. They cut that New England game to 3 early in the fourth quarter. They lose to Buffalo by 3. And then obviously the Seattle game, it's Russell Wilson, man. I mean, they're not there yet at that level. And you saw Russell Wilson again last night with some amazing magic last night. Miami is a different football team. They're getting better. Last year, I tried to explain to people, even when they were 0-7, that there was improvement if you saw it. And then they went 5-4 to close out the year. And I think that's what you're seeing here again, that the trend will continue with this team, that, however you think they start, they're going to get better as the year goes on. And that's exactly what you're seeing. And you're watching also that the front office is doing a hell of a job, because Austin Jackson's out, and then the young guy, Robert Hunt, comes in and does a great job. And, for a team that never had offensive linemen, it looks like these guys hit on 3 offensive linemen already in this draft, which is just, crazy to think that the Dolphins would do that. So, yeah, it's a different team on the field. It's a different team in the front office. It's a different team in the coaching staff. They have improved in all the areas.
Well, and Orlando, I'll give you credit. You said this a year and a half ago when they finally gave the reins to Chris Grier. And you said, listen, whether it was Chris Grier, Alonzo Highsmith, you're like, there have been talented people in and around this franchise that they have not given authority to. And you felt they finally gave it to the right guy. What was it about Chris Grier that you said, I'm all in?
He's a real football guy. Look, man, I've been going to the Combine and the Senior Bowl and the East-West Shrine and the Las Vegas Football Classic and the what is it, the Orlando Gridiron or something from back in the day. I've been going to all these postseason bowl games for over 20 years now, getting to know NFL people. And I've watched Chris Grier come in throughout that entire time and grow and do his work. And, so I get to see a lot of the Dolphin personnel people on the road and see what they're all about. And then I get to hang out with a lot of other NFL people who I talk with about, personnel things and who's good and who's not. And over the years, everybody's always told me, like, I don't know why they don't give Chris Grier a chance. That guy knows what he's doing. And so, that's why I've always been kind of a guy that's been positive about Chris Grier. And I get the silly Dolphin fan that thinks, well, Chris Grier was part of the problem because he was there. And, well, that doesn't mean because you're there, they're actually listening to you. And I know that Chris Grier's been here for, 20 years almost. And people think that, he's part of the problem. He wasn't part of the problem. He was turning in his reports Now, they weren't listening to him. They weren't making any of his picks. But one of the things that I kept explaining to Dolphins, why do you think that there's a different regime taking over every time? And they always keep Chris Greer. Why? Because his reports are there. They're on file. So obviously he must have been filing some pretty damn good reports, because they take a look at everybody in the damn building and they say, well, what did he do? What did he do? What was it good? What was it bad? So obviously every time they must have looked at Chris Greer, they said, well, he's turning in solid reports. We're going to keep him. Everybody kept the guy. I try to tell people this too. I try to explain to football fans. When you see an assistant coach that constantly gets hired, don't think that he's bad because he's been on 8 teams. He's been on 8 teams because everybody likes him, because he's actually good. He's a really good employee. He's a really good coach. So that's why that assistant coach has 8 jobs. Just because they fire the head coach and they abolish him and then the whole staff goes, doesn't mean the whole staff sucks. There's probably a lot of people on that staff that are doing a good job. But unfortunately, like everybody, when somebody new takes over, they bring in everybody new. And so I try to explain to people that, you just can't blame everybody that's behind the scenes, because there's always people doing good work. Chris Greer has always done good work. Finally, they gave the minority an opportunity, if you want me to be brutally honest.
All right. Now, the next question that Flores and Greer will have to figure out is when. Because the one thing about Tua that we were all worried about is Tua getting beat up with a really bad offensive line. But like you mentioned, Hunt and Jackson are exceeding expectations right now. The offensive line's been pretty damn solid.
Solomon Kinley.
Kinley.
Hard, absolutely.
And so what? So what are they? So Orlando now, the Chargers come in a couple of weeks. They'll have their rookie quarterback. You got the Jets back to back with a bye in the middle. When do you expect to see Tua?
When the time is right, and when the time is right is when you're eliminated from the playoffs. The time is right when Fitzpatrick gets injured. The time is right when Fitzpatrick is playing terrible. That none of that has happened. You're not benching Fitz while you're winning. You don't do that. This isn't. Hey, let's go have fun and let's go now start developing the kid, and then you lose the entire locker room. You're not doing that. So if you're winning, you're going to keep Fitz. If you're in playoff position, you're keeping Fitz. I tried to explain last year to everybody that was saying they were tanking. I told you they weren't tanking. They were trying to win with young people. This man is trying to win while he's trying to develop talent, while he's trying to develop a culture. So if Fitz is playing well enough that you're winning with him, and the way he plays and he elevates everybody around him, because Gesicki has turned into a hell of a tight end with him. Preston Williams has developed. Isaiah Ford has developed. Parker has developed into a number 1. All these people are developing around him. The line plays better with him because they know that he's going to protect them by getting rid of the football quickly or running. So Fitz is selling out to a point that you cannot bench him at all. You can only bench him if you have no choice because he broke down. You can only bench him if he becomes the Fitz that we've seen in the past, that throws 4,000 interceptions and he's terrible. Then you got to bench him. If there's a reason like that, you bench him. But you are not going to bring in Tua at all this year until one of those things happen, because you will lose the locker room. And you're telling, if you're coaching people to win, and then all of a sudden you take out one of the pieces that is helping you win, you will lose the locker room, and that coach will not do that. So do not expect Tua, and they're not going to force the issue. So don't try to force the issue. It'll happen, but it'll happen in a natural way as they're trying to develop the football team.
He's Orlando Alcigari. His daily podcast is the Big O Radio Show. You can follow him on Twitter at Big O Show. In a strange way, Orlando, did the Canes need Saturday night, or did their fan base need Saturday night so that they didn't get just a little too drunk and happy and a little too out over their skis, and that, hey, they're a lot better than they were last year. But come on, they ain't there yet.
Well, are they that much better than they were last year, or did they bring in a couple of extra players? Because what I saw last night or on Saturday night was the same crap I saw last year. You had 2 weeks to prepare. Look, all I wanted from the game on Saturday night was a respectable performance, a responsible performance where you played fundamental football. And they did not play fundamental football. They committed a ton of penalties. In fact, it was 15 for 135 yards. I saw a team that constantly beat themselves. I saw a team that wasn't prepared for the moment. I knew you weren't going to beat them. I told fans all week long. They kept calling me reaching out to me on the text line or on social media. I said they have no business beating Clemson. They're not on Clemson's level. But I do want to see a competitive game. I want to see a fundamental game where you're playing hard, you're playing smart. You know what I mean? You give yourself an opportunity. The Miami Heat rarely beats themselves because Eric Spoelstra coaches them. Look at the Miami Dolphins. Since last year, they're one of the least penalized teams in the NFL. One of the things that I love about Brian Flores is that his team is brand new, brand stinking new, and they don't make any mistakes. They make very few to burn themselves. That's what I wanted from the Canes. Go in there. Don't commit penalties. Don't commit stupid penalties, pre-snap penalties. Don't look like the moment's too big for you. And that's exactly what you look like. You look like a team that was unprepared, and you had 2 weeks for this game. Last year, every time they had 2 weeks, they looked like a complete disaster. Even last year when they had a month for the bowl game, they looked like a disaster. So I disagree with you. I did not see progress. I'm still seeing a coach that is not ready to be a head coach. I'm still seeing an assistant coach that cannot be a head coach. That's what I'm seeing.
And Orlando, my fear for Miami is not just that they got whacked on Saturday. It's that if it wasn't for a transfer quarterback and a bunch of transfer players, I don't know how deep Miami is. And when this group's done, I know the transfer portal's wide open. And he did a terrific job getting really good players to fill in. But that's not how you build a college program. How effectively is he doing, just in the 3-county area? How much talent's there so it can be 3 years of these guys, not one-and-done type players?
Right, yeah, but if you can't coach them up, then it's useless. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you bring in if you can't coach them up. And that's really my problem. And look, Rhett Lashley, after, all this talk about his offense and all that, well, look, man, you had a bigger stage. What'd you do? You showed me nothing here. You know what I mean? And the problem is that some fans got, pumped up about this team because they beat a bunch of teams that were nothing. What's going on at FSU? They're as big a disaster as, well, maybe even a bigger disaster than Miami, overall. So it's not like you were beating anything special leading up to this game. Now you actually were going up against the creme de la creme of college football, and you look so unprepared as a football team. To me, that's the disappointing part. I don't blame the kids. I blame the guys on the sidelines right now. That coaching staff still doesn't look like it deserves to be there with the University of Miami.
What do you see as the future for the Heat? We thought on this coast, for what it's worth, that they were very dangerous. We didn't think they'd make it to the finals, but we thought that they'd knock off a big boy and get to the Eastern Conference Finals. But what do you see as the future? They got to make a decision on Dragic. There's talk that already a year from now, some of the big names in the league are already eyeing Miami for free agency. What do you think the next year is like for the Heat, who obviously are young and talented and close?
Oh, it's going to be fantastic, guys, because think about this last year. This has been an enormous PR hit for the Miami Heat because now you've sent a message out to the NBA, we're back. You sent them a message to the NBA again, hey, let's remind you, we are, if not the best, the second best franchise in the NBA at developing talent. So it doesn't matter if you're a superstar like LeBron, we'll make you a better post player so you can make everybody better. Or if you're Chris Bosh, we'll make you a 3-point shooter. Or if you're, Duncan Robinson and you're an absolute nobody, we will raise you from the ground up, just like we did with Udonis Haslem. So right away, you see that the player development, there is nobody better in the NBA, I would say, than the Miami Heat. Jimmy Butler comes in. Well, hold on a second. He couldn't get along with everybody in Chicago. Couldn't get along with everybody in Minnesota. Well, how come Philadelphia didn't want him? And they gave Tobias Harris the money. And I was questioning myself when they signed him. I said, I don't know if they're really going to be able to lure anybody else because he's had issues with people. Well, now we realize that Minnesota still sucks and they're a disaster. Chicago sucks. They're a disaster. Philadelphia choked like dogs. They really needed his leadership. And now Miami is in the NBA Finals, and Jimmy Butler's ways are not really that bad. What Jimmy Butler is a hard worker, and he demands everybody else to work hard. Well, guess what? That's what you got to do in this franchise with Miami Heat. If you're not willing to work, you won't last long here. That's why guys like Whiteside didn't fit here, because Whiteside was a bum. That's why. So for me, I think Miami had just one hell of a presentation all year long, showing you what a great franchise they are from top to bottom. So I think agents and players are going to just kill themselves to get here because the money's all the same. You're going to get the money everywhere. Plus, we're a no-tax state. And then you're going to have a chance to win. You're going to have a chance to be the best that you can possibly be as a player. Everybody saw that they handled the bubble like champs. People weren't pointing fingers. They weren't talking about how lonely I am. Oh, that I missed this, that I missed that. They weren't wimping out and all that stuff. They were all in. And so I think that the Heat organization had just an amazing amount of great PR throughout all of this. So yes, they are back, and you are correct. There's going to be people lined up wanting to join this franchise, seeing the results that players get, and the agents are seeing the results that players get. So yeah, there's no doubt this was a fantastic year, thanks to Kendrick Nunn, Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo has grown into a star, and obviously the resurrection of Jimmy Butler. It's been a great story.
Orlando, congratulations on all your success with the Big O Radio Show podcast. So you're working hard at it. You're putting out a great product. Glad you're having all the people tune in on a regular basis that you are. Continued success with it. Thanks for making time for us, and hopefully we can do this again.